It's not a box.
Huh?
I mean, as much as I respect the color in your metaphor, I feel obliged to point out that Pandora's box wasn't really a box at all. You see, the Greek word pithos, used in Aesop's classic account of the story,
I was wondering when Lecture Taylor would come back.
We didn't have to wait long.
ha ha. All I was trying to say is that it's not really a box. At least not originally. It was a large storage jar made from clay. The Greeks used them to store wine and grains, and occasionally in rituals involving human remains and the transport of the soul from one realm to the next.
And this undermines my vibrant description of the horror of horrors that is a long distance relationship in quarantine because.
But it doesn't exactly undermine your description.
Except in the sense that you cut me off in the middle of my story to make this correction, thus suggesting that it may be an important enough distinction to make the interruption worth it.
Touche.
Guys, this is just like in high school when half the class could get taken up in the discussion of a single question, Taylor.
I like to think that says more about the power of a single question to light up the minds and hearts of a group than any embellishment on my.
No, it was mostly because you took 25 minutes to get to an actual point.
Touche.
All right, all. I'm sure Taylor had good intentions in making their point.
Yeah, thank you, Maya. I always do.
Well, what were they then?
My intentions?
Even the actual point couldn't hurt.
Yeah, I'd take that.
I don't know. When I think about a box versus when I think about a jar, I guess I'm just struck by the fragility of the jar. You know, it could tip over and all the troubles of the world could just spill out instantly versus how a box is all like sealed up and airtight. It takes a pretty conscious and deliberate choice to open up a sealed box, no matter what you're told's inside it. With a jar, it's almost like Pandora's being asked to open it. The lid is right there, the contents are beckoning. It's almost hard to blame her. Or you, Lorenzo.
Oh, but it shouldn't be hard to blame me, Taylor. I genuinely should have known better than to open this box, jar. It should have been obvious to me. How could I not have foreseen the calamity, the horror that awaited behind that lid, lurking, threatening my very happiness and calm, just waiting for the proper moment to strike, devouring my world and tainting all the contents therein?
Relationship sucks and it's destroying your life.
It's such a fucking mess, Sky.
Well, it's not like we didn't warn you, Lorenzo. I've been telling you to stay away from that guy since before we went down on lockdown.
Besides, were you even ready to start a new relationship?
No, I wasn't. That's the point. A new relationship was never what I was looking for. It only turned into that when we all got kicked off campus, and suddenly we just had to talk every day.
You know, there's nothing stopping you from just not picking up the phone.
I know how it feels to be ignored, Ethan. I'm not going to impose that on anyone. Not knowingly. And besides, he is way more popular than I am. If I ghost him, pretty soon the whole school will hate me.
Not like it's going to matter if we don't have a campus in the fall.
The fact that the jar is made of clay also seems resonant to me. Well, I mean, think about it. The Pythos was composed of the same building material as Pandora herself, at least on some accounts. So that means that the contents of the box,
Sure.
sorry, jar.
Mm-hmm.
What I was trying to say was that the contents of the jar would be allegorically connected with the contents of Pandora herself. On some accounts, the first woman, but by any account, a metaphoric representation of human weakness.
If we think about her as being built from the same stuff as that jar, the one containing all the world's problems, then isn't that story like really fucking anti-feminist?
I'm sorry, what?
If Pandora represents the box, but she also represents the first woman, then the Greeks are basically saying women are responsible for all the world's problems.
All right, which we know isn't true. Men can be way worse.
Seconded.
So why are we giving this story any attention at all then? It's basically just another ancient Greek excuse for bashing femininity.
Well, I mean, they weren't opposed to all of femininity. They tended to be big fans of fertility and beauty, for instance.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. At least we can look good and make more men because that's really what the world needs, isn't it?
What was that, Maya? I think you muted yourself.
Sorry. I said, what about hope? Hope. You know, it gets left in the box. I mean, the jar. It never leaves the jar, even when everything bad is released.
Great. Yeah. So the world gets diseases, and wars, and prejudice, and jealousy, and raccoons, and pineapple on pizza.
Oh, well, let's not be so hasty.
It gets pineapple on pizza. And mutinies, and betrayal, and depression, and waiting 3 whole minutes for something to download. Meanwhile, Pandora gets to keep hope stuck up within her little jar heart, depriving the rest of the world of the only thing we needed to get through all the trials and hardships she unknowingly brought down upon us. That doesn't seem fair, does it?
Well, that's life for you.
But is it, though? Because we still have hope. We must have scooped it out of the jar somehow, somewhere along the line.
But do we really have hope, though? I mean, we like to think we do. I sure like to think of myself as a hopeful person. Sometimes. But I don't really know. Sometimes I think all this hoping is fake. It's an illusion, a myth. We tell ourselves we have hope, but there's no reason to.
But do you need to have a reason to feel something, Lorenzo?
I mean, that is typically how the brain works. Stimulus response, Taylor.
I'm aware of how the brain works. I was thinking more about the heart.
It pumps blood through the body. Left ventricle, right ventricle. Left atrium, right atrium. Has nothing to do with emotions.
Well, the heart does pump faster when something exciting's happening.
Or something terrifying.
Yes, because the brain sends signals to it. Chemicals.
Stimulus response. Ergo, a reason.
All right, point made. But we don't always have to understand those reasons. And reasons can be pragmatic. Maybe we hope because it's better for us to, even if there's no particular outside stimulus. Maybe hope is a necessity, a response to hard times, not to optimistic belief.
There you go, writing that novel again, Tay.
I wish.
So you're saying hope isn't reasonable, but it's still desirable.
How can that be true?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it isn't. I certainly haven't felt much capacity for hope lately.
Someone was saying earlier that the clay of the jar and the clay that made people, that they were the same clay material, made from the same basic components. So, if the jar is us, and, well, or if it's Pandora, representing humanity with all of our weaknesses.
Women with all of their divisiveness and capriciousness.
I like the universal interpretation better, though.
Yes, because the meaning of stories is assessed based on whatever interpretation we like better, not the one that's best supported by the evidence.
Let her speak, Sky.
Fine.
Well, I forgot what I was going to say.
Sounds about right.
So, can we get back to me then?
Sounds about right.
I think it might be someone else's turn to talk. Lorenzo?
I agree. Don't get me wrong, I support you, but there's only so many times we can tell you to break up with this guy before it becomes obvious that your heart's not in it. I feel like you'd rather just complain and be heard than actually solve your problems, and that's okay and everything, but it gets to a point
That's not true! I would much rather solve the problems. Problem is, I'm really not sure how to do it.
How to do what? Break up with him? It's easy. Just shoot him a text and then block him on everything.
Oh, yes, a predictably kind and sensitive suggestion from Mr. I know everything about relationships.
Come on. It's worked before.
Yeah, it worked when you wanted to bail on a summer camp fling. And that was back in the days before Snapchat started tracking our GPS locations and broadcasting them to friends of friends daily without our permission.
You know you can just disable location tracking in settings, right? In fact, I think the default is not to track your location.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Well, the point still applies. It's not as easy to just ghost someone you go to college with, Ethan.
Not like you're at college now. And who knows what's happening in the fall? For all we know, it could be months before you and Daniel start.
Don't say his name right now.
For you and the unholy one meet in person again. And if you take care of this now, I honestly doubt he'll even remember it that far down the line.
Well, maybe you're only saying that because you're not used to being remembered, Ethan.
Touché?
Look, you can't just drop out of contact with him. No matter how bad things have been, the man still deserves an explanation. Think about it. If someone were to break up with you without any warning signs or anything,
Oh, there have been warning signs. They've been passing us by on our freeway to Tartarus for miles now. I would have seen them earlier too, if it weren't for the eye patch of infatuation that's been ruining my depth perception.
See, Lorenzo, your life has value outside your relationship. Where would we be without all your colorful mixed metaphors?
still, you could at least muster up the decency to tell him that you're done with him, knowing what's happened, knowing why you had to go. It's a comfort. No one deserves to be left in the dark.
Hello? Eye patch of infatuation. Pressing in against my goddamn skull. As the road speeds past me, sign after sign after sign. Appearing and disappearing seemingly without cause, as the patch keeps pressing closer and closer against my skull. I don't know if I can take that pressure, Maya. I still care about him. Even if I actually wanted to break up with him,
Which you do.
and even if I decided it was the right thing for me to do, pragmatically and idealistically speaking, I still don't know if I would be able to do it. When it came down to it, face to face, I just don't know if I could get up the courage to tell him how I feel.
Well, odds are, if you don't feel comfortable telling someone how you feel, you probably shouldn't be in a relationship with them.
I know. But I don't know how I could tell him that without backing down somehow. Without downplaying my emotions, without withholding some truths. And I want to be honest with him, I do. Even if he doesn't deserve it. Even if he's never been honest with me for longer than a week. Even as he actively spreads lies about me.
Lorenzo, he's been spreading lies about you?
Oh, don't act like you haven't heard them.
It's not like I'm the most active person on social media.
Nasty ones too, if this is what I think it's about.
Let's not get into it, okay? I'm sure Lorenzo would prefer this to be a safe space. You know, free from any sort of insinuations that he may or may not be some sort of... Oh. Right. Sorry.
Wouldn't you think that calling things off would just make it worse? I mean, it's not like if I tell him I'm done, it's going to stop him from saying what he wants about me. If anything, the bitterness would simply be taken to another level. Lives have been ruined in the wake of poorly timed breakups.
I mean, not gonna lie, that is definitely a risk.
But who cares? I mean, the people who matter will know it's a lie. Sure, the people who already hate you will use it to hate you more, but who cares about them?
But what about the people who don't quite know me, though? The acquaintances, the skeptics, the people I have yet to meet, who could end up being my best friends.
You've already got best friends.
Well, thanks, Ethan. I can't tell you how much that means to me. But my point still remains. These rumors could seriously taint my reputation.
Your reputation is fine, Lorenzo. We're worried about you.
Yeah, I mean, don't you think that staying in a relationship that makes you this unhappy would make an actual transgression more likely?
That's not exactly what I was trying to say, Ethan.
He makes a valid point, though. It's never a benefit to someone's reputation or health to be stuck in a situation where they feel trapped and alone.
Well, you're not alone, buddy. We're here for you. And we always will be.
I know, buddy. I know.
If you keep spreading lies about you, we'll make sure people know the truth.
Yeah.
We can start a fact-checking website for your relationship. We'll rank the stuff Daniel says about you on a scale of mildly distorting the truth to even more absurd than our actual 2020 reality.
If anyone's reputation's on the line here, it's his. The guy might be popular, but he's not exactly known for his unrestrained honesty and selflessness.
Drop him, man. You don't even need to send a text. I'm serious. He doesn't deserve the dignity of an explanation.
Well, hold on. Everyone deserves the dignity of an explanation.
Trust me. I know you probably wouldn't have spent much time with the water polo captain, Maya, being busy with your poetry or whatever. But I've spent some time with this dude. And if anyone deserves being ghosted...
He does, though.
How are you on Maya's side about this?
Transparency matters in a relationship, Ethan. Even when both parties know it's not going to last, it can at least make the downside a little bit more comfortable.
God, so you're really bringing this up in front of everybody, huh? Can't believe you. This was supposed to be a peaceful, even a happy occasion. The gang's back together, solving crimes, hanging mistletoe, getting Lorenzo's miserable life back into some sort of order again. Maybe we'd even manage to get the old shorts versus pants debate finally resolved.
Shorts are definitely pants. It's not even a question.
No!
Okay, maybe we should...
Go, Ethan.
I'm sorry, Sky. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry that this had to turn into another dumb argument. Frankly, I don't know how many times we can have the same conversation without it just turning into...
I think I'm going to head out now. It's been really nice seeing everybody, but...
Fine. Fine. I'll go. I'm sorry to have inconvenienced everybody with my mere presence. I thought we could handle this situation like adults, but clearly someone had something else in mind. I don't know why I'm the one leaving, but fine. Hope everyone has a nice life while I'm sent into frickin' Frexile. That's friend exile, by the way.
Yeah, we got that.
Well, so long! It's been nice knowing you.
Now, wait a minute, Ethan.
Sky, are you okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably wasn't the best idea to invite both of you, huh?
Think.
No, it's fine. I thought I could handle it. We've all been friends longer than he and I were together, and it's like I told you, we thought we could go back to normal if we just waited things out a little bit.
I know that's what he wanted when you broke up with him, but is that what you wanted?
I mean, does it matter? It's what the group needed. I didn't want to force you into a position where you had to choose sides. I know how uncomfortable that can be for people. When I was in high school, some friends of mine put me in a similar situation, and it sucked.
Well, look, Ethan's our friend, yeah, but so are you. And good friends pay attention. We all know what Ethan is like in relationships. From the first signs of trouble, we knew who was most likely responsible.
That's not true, though. At least it's more complicated than that. It wasn't all him. We were both to blame. Did he hurt me? Yes. But I wasn't perfect either, and Look, I don't want you to stop being friends with him just because of what happened between us. Or to stop
It's
being
okay.
no.
Yeah.
Not that that's what I thought you were going to do. It's just I think I just need a little distance from him, I think, for a while. Things are still raw. You understand, right?
Of course we do.
Yeah, you can acknowledge the faults in your behavior without having to ignore the bad things someone else has done to you.
Yeah, I know. I know.
How did you manage to end things?
What?
I mean, things were rough for a while between you and him. They got bad enough that I thought for sure things were going to end. And to be honest, that was like 3 months ago when I first started thinking that. But despite all the odds, you stayed together, at least most of the time. And there were even moments when you seemed happy, until it became obvious that you weren't. But even then, you were still more or less together for another 2 or 3 weeks or so. At the time, I didn't get it at all. How do you stay in that kind of messed up situation? But now, I'm starting to understand that. What I still don't understand is how did you find the strength to get out? To decide that the uncertainty of being single again, with all its risks and the awkward consequences that an official breakup, especially so far into a relationship, can bring, that it was worth it to get out of the stable yet unhealthy circumstances of your day-to-day life in that relationship.
Lorenzo, this may not be the best time to be asking Sky about.
It's all right, Maya. This might actually be helpful for me.
Yeah, I could really use the advice. I mean, obviously, I hope you're okay and all of that, too.
I appreciate that.
I'm glad.
If you think it could be helpful to talk through this stuff with us, Sky, you go ahead. But please don't answer anything you don't feel comfortable with. We're here for you right now.
Yes, what she said.
Okay. I appreciate that. I think it might be helpful to process, just so long as, all of you are comfortable with it too. After all, I'm talking about one of your friends. I don't want you to have to think about Ethan any differently because of what I went through. I don't want to ruin anything between you. I know he's still a good person.
You're not going to make us uncomfortable.
Yeah, and even if what you say does change our opinions, it'll probably be a good thing for us to know the truth.
I just feel like I'm kind of opening up my own Pandora's box here.
It's a jar.
Taylor.
But more importantly, it's okay for you to share. That's what friends are here for. We're here to listen, not to judge. And sometimes it can be helpful just to talk and to know someone's listening.
Well, I think that to understand how I was able to eventually leave that relationship, it's important to understand first why it was so hard for me to make that choice. Lorenzo, I trust that you know under what I mean now and you understand it. Maya, Taylor, I hope you never have to understand it in the way that I do. But honestly, I'm still trying to fully understand it myself. Because looking back on the relationship, it seems obvious that I was meant to leave. That things were never going to work themselves out. That I had already changed as much as I could stand just to accommodate the way things were, the way Ethan wanted things to be. He wasn't going to change. Not in the ways that I needed him to. And I had changed so much that I didn't even fucking recognize myself. I should have known. I must have known that there was only so long I could handle this. I even remember moments when we were together, and in my mind, I knew that I was participating in something that was soon going to be something from my past. That this wasn't forever. That it couldn't be. But I still felt like I had to experience it. I don't know why. And maybe it's hindsight, but I remember feeling that way.
I, I felt that way too.
Okay, so it's not just me.
It's hard because you feel like things could change. Like things could be better if they were just slightly different. And you feel like it could get that way, but it doesn't. And you try everything to get it where you need for it to be. And you ask your partner, how can I help you get us to this place? And you do everything they tell you to. And it's just not enough. Because after a while, you realize that you're the only one who's changing.
We were talking about hope earlier, and I feel like hope was something that was always with me, but not always in a good way. Something that kept me going even when things went to absolute shit. I held on to hope like it was a blanket, my first credit card, the single toy left in my childhood toy chest, stuffed in a corner, covered with dust, but never fully let go. I clung to hope and I used it to keep me going, but I shouldn't have kept going. As it turns out, that hope was false. Because things weren't going to change. Not really. Not enough to make it worth it, not even enough to make it okay. To make it better than nothing. But I convinced myself it was. All because of fucking hope.
So maybe hope did belong in that jar, with all the world's misfortunes, because hoping for something that never arrives can keep you stuck in a terrible situation, instead of allowing you to realize that there are better options for you somewhere else.
But
But
imagine better options.
yeah, that's a form of hope too, right? The hope that beyond this relationship, this situation that you currently feel stuck in, there's something better for you. That you can reclaim yourself and find something better.
So you do believe in hope.
Well, I want to.
Well, maybe if I had directed my hope differently, things might have been better. If instead of hoping that he would change or that the situation would just naturally get better, I'd held out hope for myself, believing that I could find a better situation through my own personal efforts. That I was worth something outside the relationship and that I could make things better on my own. If not within the relationship, then somewhere outside of it.
Hope comes from inside the jar, from inside of you, so if you look for hope outside yourself, in the realm of things you can't change, you're not going to find it. If it's there, it's deceiving you. It's not hope, not real hope. It's something else.
I'm not sure that I agree.
No, I think Taylor's right. I think I've got some thinking to do. I might want to take some time for myself now. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being here.
Of course.
Please, reach out at any time, whenever you need to talk.
Thanks, guys. Will do.
I should probably head out too, but thanks for inviting me.
Is everything all right, Maya? You seem kind of distracted today.
Yeah, everything's fine. I've just been feeling a bit tired lately.
That makes sense. Everyone's sleep schedule's been off. There are memes about it all over the internet.
I'll take your word for it.
But you know that if there was something going on, you could tell us, right?
Of course. Well,
Is your mom feeling any better?
What's going on with your mom? Is she okay?
she's fine. It's nothing. Well, my county opened up last week, and so she's had to start going back to work every day. And
That must be really stressful for both of you.
It's all right, really. She was worried a couple of days ago because a man came in without a mask and he was coughing near the meat counter. And then yesterday, she stayed home from work because she said her chest felt like it was sinking into the bed.
That's that's not good.
It's really not. I'm really trying not to think about it, though.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up anything you didn't want to think about.
Anyway, she's feeling a lot better today, but she decided to stay home anyway.
That's probably best.
Yeah.
At least her boss put in a new policy about sick leave.
It's the least they could do.
I hope it was nothing.
I hope so too. There's really no way of knowing, though, because testing in our area hasn't been widespread.
But don't they need it to be widespread before the county can open up?
You'd think, but the standards they're lower in some states than others, and they're lower in all of the states than they should be. My mom can only get tested if she's able to prove that she's come into contact with someone who's tested positive for the virus.
But the virus can spread asymptomatically. Wouldn't they want everybody who's going out to work to be tested, regardless of demonstrated proximity to those who tested positive?
There's only so many tests we have. The materials involved in testing are expensive, and I guess they can't afford to give tests to everybody who might need one. At least not until access expands considerably.
That's fair.
It's really okay. I just have to keep hoping. That's all. Hoping that things will get better. That maybe people will start listening to guidelines soon, and they won't come into stores blatantly ignoring safety protocol and calling it a political issue.
But there's not a whole lot that you can do about that. We can't control the actions of others. I've been spreading wear a mask messages all over my social media feed, but the only people responding are the people who I know would be wearing masks anyway.
Once someone decides to go against the public consensus in an extreme way, it's hard to talk them out of it.
How do you keep holding on to hope like that? Especially when it's something you can't control.
Have to. Without that hope, I don't know if I'd be able to make it through my day to day. Maybe it's false hope. Maybe the reality is much darker than that, and maybe it always will be. And if that's true, would it be helpful to know? Maybe, but as much as it would help me to know how bad a place the world is, and deep down, a part of me will always know, to acknowledge that openly as the only option for the world, that would do more harm than good. I have to believe that not all of the hope is bottled up inside of me. I have to believe that some of it's out there in the world, that the keys to envisioning a better society are within all of us, and that when it matters, we'll make the changes we need to make.
Isn't that a bit idealistic, though?
Maybe it is, but it's all I've got right now. I can't leave the house. I'm not going to increase the risk of spread any more than it already is for my mother and Jenna. All of my friends are doing what they can to stay safe and to keep others safe. It's the people I don't know that I'm worried about. And I can't reach them from home, at least not easily, not in a way that doesn't make them feel like I'm attacking them. So all I can do is hope. I hope that people will get used to wearing masks and stop viewing it as a goddamn culture issue. I hope the medical professionals working on a vaccine are able to produce and distribute one in, I don't know, sometime in the next 100 years. I hope my mom, I hope she's safe. And I hope that everything's going to be all right for her and for Jenna and for me and for everyone. But for now, that's the most powerful tool that I have to make everything okay. Is it an illusion? I don't know. But I need it. That I'm sure of. Well, I should probably get going. I'm supposed to be making dinner.
You could always make it while staying on the call. Sometimes it's nice to have company, even virtually.
It's really okay. Thanks for the offer, though.
Are you sure? Because I could,
Let it go, man. She says she's fine. I'm probably gonna have to head out soon, too. Thanks for being on the call, Maya.
Of course. I hope things work out with you and Daniel, Lorenzo. I trust that you'll make the right choice for your emotional health. Anyway, bye, Taylor, and good luck with your online classes.
Yeah, give me a second. I need to plug in.
no worries.
I'm back.
So, you're taking online classes?
Oh, yeah, I'm teaching them. Latin camp was supposed to meet in person this summer, like it does every year. But my county hasn't entered phase 2 yet, so we're all still stuck at home pretty much. They moved all the curriculum online. I mean, it's an adjustment, and it might be a little harder to get those kids to focus this way, but hey, it's something to do.
Fair enough. So, what have you got them learning in Latin camp?
Latin, for one.
That makes sense. Well, you said you needed to go, and I don't want to stop you if you're busy.
Lorenzo, you know what you have to do, right?
Huh?
About Daniel. About your situation. Sorry. I just know you have the tendency to ask us for help when you already know the answer. I think you're just looking for an excuse to ignore it.
Wow. That hurts.
Is it untrue, though?
Few hurtful things are.
I don't think that's true.
If it hurts you, odds are it has a fraction of truth in it. If a claim is entirely baseless, then why would it hurt?
So, there's a fraction of truth in what...
In what Daniel says, yes. Not that I did. I would never do that, of course. But I'm not blind, and I have thoughts sometimes.
Keeping
You know?
it deliberately vague. Okay.
Why do you care? I thought it didn't matter what he said.
It matters to you.
I don't really want to talk about it.
Really? Because it feels like that's all we've been doing for the last hour.
Well, sure. I mean, I wanted to ask your opinions about all of this because it's affecting me, and you've given good advice in the past. Not that I've necessarily listened to that advice in any meaningful or actionable way, except in hindsight, of course.
Of course.
But I also just wanted to check in with everybody. I miss being able to talk to all of you, all at once, in person, you know? And this wasn't in person, but it was close, and it was nice. So, even if I take nothing away from this conversation, I can at least take away that, the conversation itself, and what it did for me.
What did it do for you?
I just said,
You said it was nice.
well, yeah, it was nice. It made me feel like there were other people in the world who cared about me outside of my own home and outside of my relationship.
It's nice to be reminded of that sometimes.
Exactly.
I'm glad you reached out to us.
Me too. I mean, I know we've been talking, and, I've had contact with Maya and Ethan, and even Sky occasionally, too. But there's a certain magic to having all of us in the same room together. Even if that room is only digital, it feels nice to have some semblance of normalcy. to have Sky and Ethan bickering it out again, as horrible as that sounds. To have your random intellectual tangents and their sarcastic comments, and Maya's kindness and strange insistence on civility and decency, all collectively tempering my incessant drama.
I mean, it's not as though your drama is some sort of drawback, Lorenzo. Without it, we'd be stuck in the realm of the abstract with no return. And I mean, I enjoy that sort of thinking in my studies, but it's not always what I need from my friends.
I think you're right, Taylor.
About what?
About the jar. About hope, I mean. It's inside us. At least partially. If it were only out there in the world, dispersed in the atmosphere and tangled with fate, it'd amount to just delusional optimism.
But, I don't know. Isn't that pretty much how you were talking about hope earlier? Delusional, illusory, dispersed?
Well, maybe earlier. I'm thinking differently now. I'm starting to see its value. Hope. Even if it's just a mental construct, we need it to get us through hard times, but more importantly, to get us out of them. There are things in the world we can't change, and we need to accept that. If hope helps us with acceptance, then that's great. But hope is at its strongest when it gets us to change what we can, to seek a better way, to not get stuck, to believe that things can be better if we're not afraid to shake things up, to never settle for something less than what could be, than what's healthy, than what's needed, than what's right.
So you're gonna break up with him then? Daniel? You're gonna find a better way?
Well, maybe. There's a lot left for me to consider. And you know how I get when I try to take my own advice. Or anyone's advice, really. But we can always hope.
We can always hope.
Anyway, I should probably let you go. I've got some thinking and some hoping and possibly some ghosting to do.
Don't ghost. It doesn't work. I mean, it can, but it often does more harm than good. And if you care about him, which I'm not saying you have to, But I'm saying if you do, then you should have the courage to say it to his face, or digital face, or whatever. Let him in on what's going on with you, and stick to what's right for you, no matter what he says. Envision better possibilities for the breakup, I guess.
But what about false hope? I don't want to get into that trap again of believing things are going to change, that they're going to get better, when I know by now that they probably aren't unless I leave.
Trust in yourself, then. The world has its horrors, its troubles, its raccoons and mutinies and pineapples on pizza. They're out there, everywhere, and you can't control them. But hopefully you can spot them before they surround you, and fight them back with a special kind of hope. A hope that's in yourself, independent of the things around you. A hope that...
Okay, that's enough, Taylor. I appreciate it, but you're getting kind of soapboxy, and I really do need to think.
Okay, okay. I'll leave you to it then.
Hey, Taylor.
Yeah, Lorenzo?
Never mind.
Okay.
I, I'll let you know how things go.
Okay, okay. I'll see you.